Asmongold. He's one of today's biggest streamers, and legend has it he's actually a colony of bugs in human skin operating as a gooning gamer hive mind. Ugh!
The roach has been summoned. Guys, that's a bottle cap, okay? That is a fucking bottle cap. Like, that's not it.
He's also one of the biggest right-wing voices influencing people right now, which is arguably a lot grosser. And while he would probably hesitate to designate himself as right-wing, he is. He's at least been spreading enough right-wing propaganda. And look, in the past, it's been far too easy for people to take the side of fascism during times of turmoil, only to renounce it later on after public opinion has changed and hindsight grants clarity. But in this day and age, where people get their news from creeps who have the personality and hygiene of Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, it's our American duty to document their icy cold takes and mock them for so lovingly licking the boots of and plowing the fields of cyber feudalism for their fascist daddies. So, in this new series that I'm calling
Metal Goon Soil 2, Sons of Piss Babies,
we're going to be documenting and mocking a group of streamers, YouTubers, and other public piss babies who are pushing the ideas of fascist figures, some for the grift, others for the unearned sense of entitlement that they're genuinely afraid of losing. And I've given this group of losers a name that properly conveys both how incredibly lame they are and their desire to shape culture through the digital influence their platforms grant them. It's time to document and expose the piss baby takes of these unwiped, crust-laden stink lords that I like to call the lolly loo lay lame. So who are the lolly lay loo lame? They're not actually a group, obviously, but rather an unaffiliated list of gooners that have been working independently towards a common goal that can essentially be summed up as
gamers will rule the universe.
They believe in a grand societal conspiracy to minimize the memories of their favorite Oedipal gooning gamer obsessions. They reject the scourge of weaponized wokeness, acknowledging the truth that it is the sole reason women find them repulsive. And they all suck deeply from the fountain of Daddy's Musk and Trump. To make it even worse, they all have unique abilities, similar to the villains from Metal Gear Solid, like Asmongold's ability to commune with nature while never leaving his house.
There's a roach flying at me. Give me a minute.
Where'd he go?
Oh, shit! He's on my belly. Look at him. He's right there. Oh, God. Get him on me.
What are you doing, bro? Get out of my, go in the garbage can. I'm gonna take him downstairs. Give me a minute. I got him. He right? I can't my mouth.
Or this weird fella's mastery of linguistic gymnastics.
Fucking pronouns!
So why are they called the lolly lay loo lame? 4 words, baby. The paradox of tolerance.
According to Wikipedia, the paradox of tolerance is a philosophical concept suggesting that if a society extends tolerance to those who are intolerant, it risks enabling the eventual dominance of intolerance, thereby undermining the very principle of tolerance. This paradox was articulated by philosopher Karl Popper in The Open Society and Its Enemies in 1945, where he argued that a truly tolerant society must retain the right to deny tolerance to those who promote intolerance. Popper posited that if intolerant ideologies are allowed unchecked expression, they could exploit open society values to erode or destroy tolerance itself through authoritarian or oppressive practices, quite similar to what we are seeing in society right now.
So basically, when these house-dwelling insects will make jokes like traveling with ice to catch immigrants like Pokemon,
They're doing this thing with, like, these deportations where they bring in, like, celebrities to deport people, and it made me wonder, what is the probability that Tom Homan would let me go with him dressed up as Ash Ketchum with watching them do deportations? Like, I feel like it's probably at least 5% chance, right? Like, I think we're at a 5 to 10% chance that this could happen. Yeah, exactly. That'd be really good content. It would be. And, yeah, probably not gonna happen, though, but, it would be fucking funny. For the love of God, you must try. Yeah, it'd be fucking hilarious.
It's basically our civic duty to mock them in return. So before you come at me with that fragile argument that leftists are supposed to be empathetic and tolerant, just remember, the best way to create an empathetic society is to grant empathy to those who grant it to others, and to those who would see others oppressed to find their own value, well, the least we can do is mock them. So, speaking of house-dwelling insects, the first member of the Lolly-Lay-Lulame that we'll be examining today is Asmongold, the dusty tumbleweed disguised as a human. Rumor has it the source of his power comes from his white t-shirt, which he can never remove or clean regardless of the amount of sweat, dandruff, or gamer goo it accumulates. As we've mentioned in previous videos, this patriot has an army of roaches at his command. He can also control bugs. Starting as a World of Warcraft content creator, he rose to prominence and became a co-founder of OTK, or One True King, a mega church in Austin, Texas. I'm just kidding. It's a gaming and content creation company, but doesn't the name sound religious for some reason? It's very weird. Anybody know what that's about? I have no idea. Anyway, he pivoted into doing more gaming culture sort of commentary in an attempt to become the white knight of his future protected class, POGs, People of Gaming. POGs for short. After serving as the general of the gaming culture wars, Asmongold moved on to discussing actual global politics. Now you may be wondering, what kind of raccoon-style takes does a man who never leaves his trash hole have? Could his extremely limited interactions with the world outside of his roach den really give him enough perspective to speak competently on anything political? I mean, America's a tapestry of cultural diversity that you can really only experience if you leave your house. I'm a little worried Asmongold's takes might be rotten, a little closed-minded due to his insulated echo chamber that he profits off of. But maybe I'm the issue. Look, maybe we just need to hear him out. All right. Look, Asmongold, you got me. I'm probably just jumping the gun in my judgment. Let's hear your contribution to political discourse, please.
If you want to consider a genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. It's crazy that people don't see it that way. They'd be doing the same thing. And how much did they kill? As many as they can. They're not able to kill as many people as Israel because they don't have as many bombs and as many weapons. But if they did, they'd be doing the same thing. That's it. Just takes enough. That's right. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways. It is that simple. No, I don't feel bad for them. I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care.
Excuse me, you skid mark with a pulse, what did you just say? Now, Asmongold has apologized for this statement, but who cares? If this is the type of verbal diarrhea that naturally spews forth from this loser, then an apology does not matter. This is plenty to know that he's always going to come from a racist and self-centered perspective. Take his opinions on the inhumane deportations that the Trump administration has been engaging in. Hopefully, by now, you know of Mahmud Khalil and the human rights violation he's currently experiencing. But if you're not familiar, here's a very brief summary of the situation from Wikipedia. Mahmud Khalil is a student activist and lead negotiator for the encampment in the 2024 Columbia University pro-Palestinian campus occupations. He was taken from his New York City apartment building by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents on March 8, 2025. The agents were acting on orders from the State Department to revoke Khalil's student visa. When the agents were informed that Khalil is a lawful permanent resident, they said his status would be revoked instead. He was transported to LaSalle Detention Center in Jena, Louisiana. There's no criminal charge against Khalil. Instead, the government's argument depends on a section of the Cold War-era Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952, which provides that aliens in the U.S. may be deported if the Secretary of State believes that their presence will have serious negative consequences for U.S. foreign policy. Several journalists and human rights organizations have noted the connection between this law and McCarthyism. On April 11, 2025, Louisiana immigration judge James E. Comins ruled that Khalil is deportable under Secretary of State Marco Rubio's assertion that his continued presence poses adverse foreign policy consequence. The judge said she had no authority to question that determination. A federal district court has issued a stay on Khalil's deportation while it considers a separate case challenging the constitutionality of his arrest and detention. The silencing of dissenting voices is, of course, one of the first steps of any fascist leader rising to power. Mahmud Khalil's case is incredibly important to the rights of every U.S. citizen in this moment. Asmongold is included in that. He may not be brown or have a Muslim-sounding name, but fascism only discriminates up until the point where it doesn't. Asmongold may feel comfortable and safe for now as a white boy who never leaves his home, but after the rights of lawful U.S. citizens like Mahmud are stripped away, they come for everybody else one at a time, until the only ones left are the ones that they choose. And Trump won't choose you, Asmongold. He doesn't want the Asmongold sweat stains of your power shirt. Trump's admitted that he wants to deport U.S. homegrowns next. So with all that in mind, let's see if Asmongold's take on Mahmud is well thought out, with political nuance, or at the very least, some sort of sense of self-preservation when it comes to understanding how fascism works. All right, Asmongold, what do you got?
I told you so. People actually thought this guy wasn't going to get deported. It's insane. Fucking obviously, yes, of course he's going to get deported.
This is a very, very stunning move that's going to have repercussions for sure for all of
That's the goal.
the other international students who have been targeted by the Trump administration.
That's what I want them to do. If somebody is an international student and they're coming to the country and agitating and causing political distrust, like, I don't think that we owe it to the rest of the world to be a, open platform for you to come here and cause political dissent. It's ridiculous. Like, if you want to come here and complain about our politics, get the fuck out, go back to your country.
Fuck, it's crazy how a guy who is so thoroughly filthy and unwashed on the outside can be equally grossed on the inside. But go ahead, continue, Hitler.
It's such a ridiculous premise that we need to have people that are not even citizens of this country. We're going to import them into this country and educate them so they can protest and complain in our country. Why do we have that? Why do we need this? Yeah, go complain in your own country. Exactly.
Okay, look, Mahmud is a lawful permanent resident of the U.S. He has a wife here, a green card, and everything. I get that's difficult to comprehend when most of your brain has been cleared out to make space for the family of cockroaches who made a big move from the rural plains of your greasy-ass hair to the abandoned underpass that is your brain's information highway, so I'll give you a little benefit of the doubt. But it would also behoove me to remind you that we do not import these people into our country. It sounds a little like slavery, and it's worrying me your brain goes there immediately. But again, cockroaches. So I get you have an excuse. I would also remind you that everybody in this country pays taxes, citizen or not. Non-citizens may not be contributing income tax, but guess what? They also don't receive any of the personal, financial, or life benefits that come with taxes. So they pay into our country and they don't take anything out. Considering the tax bracket that Asmongold is probably in, it's possible that they may actually contribute more to the possibility that I get to retire and my child's school receives some kind of funding than Asmongold does. Now, that's just speculation, but the point is, they pay. And if they happen to be speaking out against the government, I mean, that's their right as well. But I know you guys all abandon facts for feelings, and you don't feel like letting other people say things that you don't like. So you ask, what benefit is there to a foreigner coming in and speaking against our government? Well, Mahmud speaking out against the government was to stop our tax dollars from furthering the genocide against the Palestinians, a more than worthy cause. But even if you don't support Palestinians, you're telling me you support the money you worked for going to a foreign nation's ethnic cleansing campaign. How does that benefit us? Does spending our money on bombs for Israel improve America? How does that get grocery prices down so I can feed my kid? Let's continue.
Judge Jamie Comins has found that Mahmud Khalil is removable under the Secretary of State Marco Rubio's assertion that his continued presence and his actions in the United States actually compromise foreign policy and political priorities. That's very stunning because that is actually the only thing that she ruled on today. She did not rule on the other allegations that were raised by DHS that he allegedly misrepresented information on his green card application.
None of that matters. It doesn't have to matter. Like, they can just deport him for whatever reason they want. That's what the rules say. I said this at the beginning. Everybody was getting mad at me for saying this, but like, it's a fucking fact. Yeah, that's what the rules say. That's fucked up, though? No, it's not. Why is it fucked up that the country that you are a guest at, you are not a citizen. You're not a citizen. You might be a legal permanent resident, but you are not a citizen at. Why is it fucked up that they can tell you to leave? No. This is the same thing that I said before about, like, in Japan. Like, if somebody goes to Japan and they're, like, live streaming themselves being annoying, I think that Japan should absolutely get rid of them. 100% they should. Yeah, absolutely. Same as nuisance streamers? Yes, it's the exact same thing. And there doesn't need to be a crime. There doesn't need to be a violation, particularly. If somebody is coming to the country and they're being aggressive, annoying, disruptive, and problematic, get rid of them. It's that simple. It's so reasonable. Yes, this is common sense.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that's a slippery slope, because once the reason becomes, this guy is gross, you'll be next. And we don't want that, even though it would be a great opportunity to get that house fumigated once and for all. But live streaming yourself being a nuisance in Japan while you're visiting is a world apart from being a lawful permanent resident in a country where you're going to school and getting black bagged in your home for exercising your First Amendment right to free speech and committing no crimes. So, yeah, based.
Have not heard from his family, but we did hear from him right at the end of the court as the hearing was adjourned. He turned to look at his supporters, and he also addressed the judge himself, saying, quote, I would like to quote what you said last time, that there's nothing that's more important to this court than due process, rights, and fundamental fairness.
Clearly, that is the due process. The due process is that the federal government gets to deport you if they think that you're a problem. That's the whole point. The due process is somebody is afforded that process of law. Everybody has a different set of due process. I don't know why people don't understand this.
Oh, that's particularly dumb. Everybody has a unique, bespoke, custom due process. Works different for everybody. That's kind of, okay.
Somebody said Japanese Americans that got deported in World War II was also okay. You're getting permabanned because that's not what I said. You're drawing a connection to two things that aren't related in order to argue based off of an emotional, like kind of what you think is an emotional mandate. Yeah, that's just not how it works. It's a bad faith argument. They're manipulating your words. Yeah, there's no reason even to respond.
Yeah, I don't think what that commenter said was bad faith. It seems like a fine question to ask. See, based off the logic that Asmongold has been demonstrating, it does seem like he would have been an American who would support the internment and deportation of Japanese during World War II. Yeah, this is, of course, a hypothetical. There's no way to actually know that. But based off of his current appetite for deportation and erosion of due process for someone who is a lawful resident with no criminal record, it's not a huge leap to speculate that Asmongold would hold the same values in the 30s and the 40s as he does today. He said it himself. If someone comes into the country and is perceived by the current administration as bad for business, why shouldn't they be kicked out? This is why I think it's important to document these damaging takes. It's easy to say you wouldn't support the Japanese internment or deportations during World War II, but everybody knows that that's the right answer now. But the genocide that Israel has been committing is right now. The potential deportation of an American, Mahmud Khalil, is happening right now. Our federal support that we've paid into is being robbed from us right now. Without hindsight, we can see Asmongold's true opinions. It's not bad faith interpretation. It's just taking the thoughts behind his words and applying them to historical scenarios. And I think if you do that, it kind of says a lot about him and gives you a clear example of what his ideas are like.
There is a precedent that could be set here because other universities have reported other students being detained in a similar fashion. So I'm wondering, we're going to hear from Khalil's attorneys. We're waiting for that news conference. I know you'll be covering that for us. But in the meantime, I'm wondering what kind of effect this has. Do you think, now that the Trump administration has this legal victory on these grounds, keeping in mind Khalil is a green card holder and a legal permanent U.S. resident, will they try to do this to other people that they deem are, not okay to be in this country on those grounds?
I hope so. That's what that is the best case scenario. Absolutely. As they should, yes, 100. Why wouldn't they? I don't know. Yeah, it's not even a question. Like, yes, if somebody is coming to this country to cause political unrest, I want them deported, period. If they're not a citizen, I want them deported. And the reason why is because we have enough of our own problems. You are a guest in this country. You are not a citizen. You have no right to be here, and you can leave. Like, I would feel the exact same way if somebody went to Britain and they were protesting and they weren't a citizen and Britain told them to leave. I would feel the same way if somebody went to China. Well, we know what would happen there. I would feel the same way if somebody went to Brazil and they went to Brazil and they started complaining. You go over there for college and now you're complaining and causing trouble. This is common sense for any normal person. The only reason why people are against this is because they agree with his cause. That's it. Because the U.S. is funding the killing of Palestinians? Yeah, I think that's really bad. And so that's a problem that I think Americans need to solve, and we need to approach that as Americans. I don't want to import in foreign people to tell us what our problems are and what we need to care about.
Okay, sorry for making you listen to him for so long, but I felt like we needed all of that for context. So let's go through everything he said there. Asmongold says, if somebody is coming to this country to cause political unrest, I want them deported. And the reason why is we have enough of our own problems. You're a guest in this country. You can leave. Those are his words. So how could you determine if somebody is coming into this country to cause political unrest? How could you tell if that's their intent? Mahmud came here to study and marry his wife, who he'd been dating long distance for 7 years. She's pregnant with their first child. As a child born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria with grandparents who were forcibly driven out of their homes during the Nakba, the ethnic cleansing of Palestinian Arabs by Israel that occurred in 1948, Mahmud reasonably wanted to exercise his First Amendment right to protest America's funding of Israel's current genocide. Mahmud was trying to help us solve one of America's problems. The tax dollars you and I contribute to the government are being used on a genocide. Anyone with a heart should be able to see that that's evil. But even the heartless should be able to see that spending money like this doesn't do anything to help us American citizens, you know? I mean, how does providing bombs to Israel help us improve our schools, help us get those egg prices down, anything like that? It does nothing for us. So even if you're the most, America first kind of person in the world, you should be against funding a genocide. Like, if you are heartless and don't care about the people, don't you at least care about your wallet? Or do you just listen to what the government tells you? Do you listen to what these leaders tell you and not do any critical thinking for yourself? Because, that's just like a clear sign of lack of self-preservation, and I fear for you. So Asmongold can make the argument that Mahmud was causing unrest, but he's not seeing the real picture of what's going on. He's just seeing the cavernous insides of Marco Rubio's ass as he jams his head way up there. Since Asmongold has never left his house to interact with anyone even slightly different than him, he has no concept of humanity. The understanding that a majority of us humans want the same things out of life: to live peacefully with our families and the people we love. We don't want to be pawns in a political game, cogs to benefit someone else's life, while our humanity is constantly pushed to the wayside by bosses, landlords, politicians, and streamers looking to make a buck off of the human destruction caused by the fascist ideas that he's helping to promote. Asmongold looks downright horny for pain and misery to be inflicted on a man who has the right to be here, who has love here, who has a child on the way. The greatest human joy is going to be stripped away from this man because his words of protest don't fit into the neatly laid plan of a billionaire fascist. If Asmongold really cared about free speech, America, humanity, or even basic logic, he'd be smart enough not to lap up the fascist propaganda of our government and agree blindly with their slipshod reasonings and lies. But Asmongold is not a critical thinker. He's a critical stinker. He's decided, hey, the judge ruled this guy can be deported, with the only reasoning for deportation being Marco Rubio wrote a note saying this guy is bad for foreign policy. Well, I hate to say it, Asmongold, but there are politicians and judges out there who make decisions that are against our better interests. But nothing Asmongold can say on this will have any merit anyway. Look, what he said about the Palestinians and the genocide originally was enough. I speculate he just hates Palestinians, and he wouldn't want to see one who spoke out against his opinion walking away unpunished. Go back to wrangling cockroaches, Asmongold. That shit is way more entertaining. There are far more stories of fascist sentiment simping from Asmongold. With 3.54 million subs on YouTube, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But his status as a member of the Lame has been established. There are more members to document, more criminally bad takes to expose, but for now, thank you for joining me. I've been Hellion.Vision. Like and sub, and remember, I hear it's amazing when the famous purple stuffed worm in Flapjaw space with a tuning fork does a raw blink on Harakiri Rock. I need scissors. 61.